So hello again, CEMBA 5812 students. In this short video, I'm going to talk about the case write-ups component of our course requirements. Just move this ahead one. Okay, I think that I mentioned, and in fact, I'm going to move me over here. So maybe you can see the rest of that slide a little bit better. So one of our graded requirement components are case write-ups. And if you take a look at the syllabus, there are a total of 4 cases that we're going to be discussing in the class this fall. And the case write-ups, the purpose of the case write-up is to help you really facilitate preparation for class discussion and to let you take readings and apply them. So if we just read articles, oftentimes we might find interesting things in there that we can imagine, connect and link to our personal work experiences. But we know that learning improves if you can use them to solve problems or apply them to understand particular case scenarios. So the cases are designed to have you do that so that you read the articles that are required for the class, and then you read the case study, and then you answer and address some case questions. But even beyond those case questions, that you are demonstrating or illustrating your comprehension of the class readings and the materials for that week. And so that's an important thing when we look at grading these cases. There are case questions available on the website in the case assignment, but frankly, those are kind of guidance. I'd like to see that you address those in your write-up, but your write-up should go beyond just question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. What I'm looking for you to show me in your case write-up is that you were reading those articles and then you read the case and you started to make connections and started to recognize how material in the reading helps you understand what's going on in the case and helps you understand and kind of critically evaluate and analyze that particular case study. So when we look at the cases, as I mentioned, there are 4. And the first one that we have due, this is an important detail, is that on our first day of class, our first meeting, everybody needs to complete the Google Oxygen case. So why I do this is that we are all equally prepared for our first day and our first meeting. And then secondly, this allows me to get grading done where every single student in class gets graded feedback at the same moment, so that you get kind of this first round of feedback so that you all understand kind of how we're evaluating your writing, how we're evaluating your analysis, how we're evaluating case write-ups. So everybody must complete the Google Project Oxygen case. This is a very kind of fun case. It's talking about a project that Google took on to try to understand what really made good managers in their organization. And it's a case that I think does a nice job of illustrating an organization using evidence-based management in people management decisions. So this is due before the start of class. So the Dropbox closes at the start of class. So you need to finish it before we come into class on Friday, October 4th, and upload this to have this assignment completed on time. Then over the rest of the semester, we have 3 other cases. And the 3 cases are Heidi Roizen, the Valve case, and Patagonia. And Heidi Roizen is here. That's a picture of Heidi. And this class, this case is due on October 19th in our 3rd class. It's a case that is highlighting the role of personal networks in influence. And so it's a good thing to think about if you're interested in increasing your power and influence in organizations. And we will be doing things like that network assessment as a non-graded class assignment to take a look at understanding network principles here. And so this case is about networks. So just so, again, giving you an idea to think about which one you might like to write up as your second one, that's what the Heidi Roizen case is. The The third case, but your second optional case, is the valve case. And that one is due in December. So these other two are late in the semester in December. So keep that in mind too. You know, you're all going to get the first one done at the beginning of class, the Google case. Then there's this case, the Heidi Roizen case, available kind of in the middle of the semester, and then there's two at the end. So if you're going to put this off, you know, you might want to think about at least reading it now when things aren't quite as busy, and maybe taking some notes and getting yourself maybe a little draft prepared early on if you're thinking about waiting to do one of these last two, because trust me, December will be busy. But the valve case is about the game company Valve. So a company that has had great success in the gaming industry. And we look at this case in the context of organizational structure, because they have kind of a unique organizational structure, and kind of how they manage working relationships is very different than most of us have experienced in our organizations. For sure, 180 degrees opposite from university bureaucracy. So that's what the Valve case is about. And then the final case option is the Patagonia case, and that case is about the outdoor wear company and sporting goods company Patagonia. And we look at this case under the topic of organizational culture. So we'll talk about organizational culture on our very last day of class meeting. And this case is just, I think, always a really interesting and remarkable case of an organization that has an extremely strong culture. And we use it in that sense to understand, what does a strong culture look like? What are the benefits of a strong culture? What are the indicators of culture? And are there any threats to a strong culture? So if you're thinking, you know, both, I think that the industry and the organization might be a reason you pick that case, but also the topic is going to be about organizational culture. So that's what we're doing in each of these cases, and can help you, I think, make a decision. Once you know you've done the required Google case, then you just have to pick one of these cases and think a little bit about your schedule, the industries these are, or the topics, and then make your decision. But again, I'd recommend, if you, for example, say, wow, that Valve case sounds interesting. I like gaming. I know that company. Org structure is interesting to me. Then I would really recommend that you pull that case out now and read it right now. Take a few notes so that it's a little bit easier to complete that assignment when we get toward the end of the semester. Okay, so grading guidelines for cases. This is also in our syllabus, so I recommend that you look there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it here, but basically each case is worth 10 points. And sort of a range of points we tend to see, you know, 10 is somebody who's sort of hit it out of the ballpark with respect to both addressing the case questions, but going beyond that. So not just question answer, but a sort of holistic analysis of the case. Who has clearly brought in readings, definitions, explanations from the material assigned for class. And those very best cases also figure out a way to tie it to something personal or something beyond, or maybe even a class ahead or a class behind. So I really encourage you not to think about these as kind of independent, autonomous pieces. There's nothing wrong with recognizing that there's stuff to bring in from different classes or different life experiences or different topics. I have posted a couple case write-ups from a couple years ago on a case that we no longer use. I recommend that you take a look at that on the Canvas site to give you an idea of what the quality that I see produced by some CEMBA students on these case write-ups look like. Those would be examples of these exceptional 10-point cases. Probably more common are going to be write-ups in the 8 to 9 points, you know, 80%, 90%, somewhere in a B plus to an A minus. These are well written. They address the questions. They apply the readings. They explain terms. They define things. But maybe the overall quality isn't quite as high, or maybe there's not something that's really exceptionally different here in the case write-up, in the cases that get this kind of good to very good rating of 8 to 9 points. I want to say there's a page limit, and oftentimes every year I hear somebody say, well, you know, you're asking for more details and I don't have room for that. So one of the hallmarks of well-written cases are people who kind of make those choices and make those trade-offs and decide to take the case in a direction that cultivates something maybe novel or deep that isn't maybe trying to answer every last thing or address every point. That's one thing to think about. And then the second piece of that is, for all written assignments, I allow appendices. So if you, for example, read a case and feel like there's a link between the case to your organization, but you don't feel like you have room in 2 pages to write about that, I highly encourage you to put some of that in an appendix. Maybe show me your org chart and refer to that in the case write-up. So always know that the total page count can be longer than the limit. You can put your references on an additional page, and you can put an appendix there if you want some additional background information or reference to other cases, experiences, contexts, etc., other data to support your analysis. If you have any questions about that, by all means, ask me or ask our TA, who will be Ellie Stillwell this year.